Hi, welcome. Today I want to talk about Notes from the Underground by Fyodor Dostoevsky. I have read the Oxford World's Classics edition and I enjoyed it overall. And I did a lot of background research. I also looked up a lot of things while reading this book. And I thought, why not share all of this with you? I have 10 pages of notes that I want to share with you today. And I hope it will help you understand this novella better. If you haven't read it yet, don't worry, there won't be any spoilers. And I actually don't know if you can really spoil this book because it's really philosophical and psychological. First of all, we cannot discuss this book without diving into the novel that Dostoevsky was reacting to, because Notes from the Underground was a reaction to What's to Be Done by Nikolai Chernychevsky. And I have read the book as a kind of background read to better understand Notes from the Underground. I'm going to talk about this novel first. So What's to Be Done was written in 1863 and it was written in prison. This work was a reaction to Fathers and Sons by Ivan Turgenev, which I also read recently. We follow this woman called Vera or Viera or Veroshka, and she is imprisoned by her parents. She wants to escape her arranged marriage and she also seeks economic independence. What's to Be Done reads like a kind of utopia, and there is talk about the Crystal Palace, and this is a building of glass and steel. It became a symbol for radicals that science and technology transforms society. And I want to read you this section. When Veroshka sees the Crystal Palace for the first time, this is how it is described. Look what else they've invented. For a considerable distance, all around the Crystal Palace, there stand rows of tall, thin pillars. On top of them, high above the entire palace, for about half a verst around, stretches a wide canopy. It's continually sprinkled with water. From each pillar, a small fountain rises above the canopy, spraying drops of water like rain. Consequently, it's cool to live here. You see, they can adjust the temperature as they please. I am mentioning this because Dostoevsky is also making references in his novella to this Crystal Palace. Dostoevsky is referring to a number of things that are stated in What's to Be Done. For example, Chernychevsky believed that transformation of society can be achieved through the knowledge gained from scientific study. 2. The author denies that caprice or whim motivates human action, and this is something that Dostoevsky goes against hard. 3. Materialists are base people who cannot be forgiven. Something else I got out of it is that beauty of people isn't important. All that matters is their social usefulness and rationality. 5. Art is a tool for social progress. He found that art could not exist without social purpose. So art should serve social, moral, and political progress. Art for the sake of beauty is empty and escapist. This really reminded me of Oscar Wilde's standpoint. There was at a certain moment in history a very really big discussion about art for art's sake or art to serve a purpose. And while Oscar Wilde, for example, was a supporter of art for art's sake and for beauty's sake, Chernychevsky was on the complete other side of this. Also, he says, and this is, I think, the most important one to know when you're going to read Notes from the Underground, human nature is predictable, he says. The characters are explaining their choices through reason. He says that rational thinking is happiness. And in Notes from the Underground, Dostoevsky is really going against the fact that humans are predictable. Chernychevsky also says it is only when we see people's freedom and possibilities that we start to compare. If everyone would be blind, for example, it would be seen as normal. And finally, socio-economic conditions shape an individual's character. A transformation of these conditions will ensure social justice and prosperity. This is what I got out of reading What's to Be Done. And I think these things are really important to understand Notes from the Underground and the ideas and statements that Dostoevsky was reacting to. There's also a lot about women's rights in What's to Be Done, which I found really interesting and really brave of the author, and I really appreciated his opinion on this. Chernychevsky really appreciated and admired George Sand, who was a female author, a French author, and she, by the way, was friends with Gustave Flaubert. She critiqued marriage and she critiqued the way that women were seen as less in society than men. And apparently her novel Jacques from 1834 was an inspiration for writing What's to Be Done. The main character is really struggling against her parents and the fact that they want to marry her off. And apparently in pre-revolutionary Russian law, the parents had unlimited authority over their children, including even the power to imprison them if they were disobedient. Marriage without consent was considered a crime, and the bride, the groom, could be imprisoned for this, and anyone who helped them could be punished as well. Peasants who left their village had to carry a passport that stated their religion, their residence, their marital state, occupation, and so on. This book is definitely worth a read, especially when you want to read Notes from the Underground. It is just so worth it to combine it and read What's to Be Done first. I want to give a few examples of Vera Pavlovna's, the main character's, dialogue to showcase how she's such a strong female character. She speaks her opinion, she goes against society, she goes against her parents, she goes against law. So here is what she says. As long as a woman is living at a man's expense, she's in a state of dependence. You assumed that I didn't understand and would be your slave. I won't allow you to be a tyrant over me. Here's another one. People ought not to live the way they do, all together under one roof. They should see each other only on business or when they get together to relax and have a good time. And another one on the difference between men and women. We women are such poor creatures. Why wasn't I born a man? In which the man replies, so you see how pitiful women are. If the most intimate desire of each and everyone were to be fulfilled, there would be no women at all left on earth. And she replies, in precisely the same way that if the most intimate desire of every poor person were to be fulfilled, there would be none of them left on this earth. So, you see, how can one say that women are not pitiful? They are just as pitiful as the poor. And here are some quotes that I really loved. These are my two favorite quotes. The first one, learning is light and ignorance is darkness. Second one, why do we always try to behave better when a stranger is present than in our own families? People do behave better among strangers. Why is that so? Okay, those were my notes on What's to Be Done. Before I discuss Notes from the Underground, I have some reflective questions for you that are related to these two books. My first question for you is, do you believe humans sometimes act irrationally even when they know better? If you answer yes, then you're on Dostoevsky's side. Question number 2, do you believe that people can genuinely change? Question number 3, do you believe that suffering can shape a person in a meaningful way? And question number 4, do you believe that people are responsible for their actions even if they were influenced by their past? Feel free to think about them or to respond in the comments. It was first published in a journal in 1864. It's a first-person narrative in the form of a confession. It is an attack and a rebellion against determinism. Determinism is the idea that everything, including the human personality and will, can be reduced to the laws of nature, science, and mathematics. Dostoevsky wants to prove that humans do not always act rationally, they're unpredictable, and they do not always choose what is best for them. And the underground man says, and I quote, "I even think that the very best description of man is this: a creature on two legs and ungrateful." Making choices that aren't in our best interest is self-harm, but it is part of being free. Science will not solve everything. The novella is divided into two parts, and part one is very philosophical. Dostoevsky is bringing forth his ideas through the underground man, and in the second part we see him bringing those ideas into action. So the underground man is going about his days, and we see how all of these ideas of his come to life. Most of the members of my book club enjoyed the second part more. I personally enjoyed the first part more. It made me think and reflect deeply. It made me look up things, as you can see, my God. And I feel like I really learned a lot. Overall, my enjoyment was just mediocre, but I am glad that I've read it, and I think it's so interesting that all of these authors were reacting to each other. What's to Be Done was a reaction to Fathers and Sons, and Notes from the Underground was a reaction to What's to Be Done. Very interesting to just look at all of these works separately and then compare them. Here are some more quotes from the underground man. "Are there not some that not only do not fit in, but cannot fit into any form of classification?" And this one, you see, man is stupid, phenomenally stupid. Henry Thomas Buckle, for example, he believed that the society would improve when civilization improves. Man becomes continually better and less aggressive. And this is something that the underground man absolutely rejects. The underground man is cruel to himself, cruel to others, and he just excels in self-sabotage. For me, it would have been difficult to get through something like this if it would have been twice its length, but it's short. This is, by the way, not the length. It's like half of this book. That is Notes from the Underground. It is so short, so you're not committing to weeks of reading. I hope this was somehow useful to you. Let me know if you've read Notes from the Underground or if it's on your reading list. I would love to know. And of course, I hope to see you next week.